All right. Welcome back to the BlackRibbon Warrior Podcast, episode 31. Wow. You would have thought we ran out of stuff to talk about by now.
Well, we kind of do.
Well, yeah, and then other things just hit us. But anyway,
yeah.
I am your host, Lee, and I am joined by my lovely bride, who doesn't feel like it today, but she is very lovely and one of the highlights of my day.
Oh, look at you. What'd you do?
Hello, wife.
Hey, babe.
What did I do?
What'd you do to say all those nice things?
Well...
Or what didn't you do?
I don't know if it was something I didn't do. I did not get a nap today, and I really wanted one.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I got a mini nap, a little power
nap.
Power 30 minutes. The dog busted through the gate and came up to see what was going on because he was lonely. And, yeah, he woke me up. But other than that, I had our neighbor lady come down. And she's an older lady. And she's usually got her 5-year-old grandson. And this little boy is he's just a bundle of just energy and curiosity, and he's fun. Like, he's at that age where he's just fun. He wants to play, he wants to jump. He just wants somebody to hang out with. And well, he is going back to Virginia for schooling and stuff like that. So he's going back home. So he came over last night. Yeah, I hear the doorbell ring, which they're the only ones that ring the doorbell unless it's a solicitor. And, they ring the doorbell, and I was like, okay. So I opened the door, and I'm expecting, hey, would you like us to seed your lawn or clean your gutters, or have you talked about solar panels lately? And then while you're at it, have you had your colon screening? But it wasn't. It was the little 5-year-old boy, and he said, I'm getting ready to go back. I was like, oh, man. So we went out, and he was showing me his scooter and stuff like that. And then we started playing with pine cones. And she's yelling at him, leave that man alone. And I'm just egging him on. Come on, let's throw the pine cones in the tree line.
You're thinking, let that kid do the work that I don't want to do.
Yeah, so she's like, leave him alone. I said, no, he's fine. He's cleaning up my yard. Then we had to put pine cones on the scooter because now he's having a pine cone collection.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. He's starting a collection now.
I'm sure his family's going to love it.
Well, we put him on the scooter, and, it's just 2 doors down, so we walk them down on the sidewalk, and, of course, they're falling off, and we got to stop, pick them back up, and go on. And she's like, throw them in the trash can. Don't you bring them up to my porch. And I said, well, why don't we put them in the bush? We can do that? And I was like, well, maybe she won't know, and then they'll still be here when you come back. And he goes, ooh, that's a good idea. So then he had a stick that he brought, and he was trying to use it as like a little ninja sword. So I was trying to teach him how to use it as a flute. Because, boys being rowdy and all that. And I was like, she's going to be trying to get him to calm down. He's going to be all wound up. So I was trying to get him into pretend like he was a flute, and then to march. And he was like, what? And I said, now march. So then he got it. He was like, oh yeah, I got this. And he's marching through the yard. He's just, and he'd march, like he was trying to get it. And then he turned around and goes, yeah, no, let's make it a sword. Wah, 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 wah.
Right.
And his grandma's up there just rolling. She said, that boy is something else. And you encouraging him. I was like, yeah, it's all fun. I'm trying to, at least I'm taming it back so it's not as rowdy as what, could be. Yeah. So, but that happened yesterday. And, so she came over today, and I had to go help a buddy. Well, he asked for help, and I was able to do it. So I went over and helped him out with just a little minor task. but he's been feeling under the weather, and so he just wanted the reassurance that, you know, he wouldn't pass out while I was on a ladder. And so I took the ladder over there and did a little task for him, and then stopped at the pharmacy. Ooh. You know, the people in there are so nice.
I love that pharmacy.
They are. They're so nice. But they had to give me a shot. I had to give him my tetanus shot. I guess you're supposed to give them, like, what, every 10 years?
Yeah, I haven't had one. I don't know how many years.
And they said my last one was like 2014.
I don't plan on getting anything with rabies to bite me.
Well, it's not only that, it's like rusty nails or anything like that.
I don't plan on doing that either.
Well, and then it was ironic because I was digging in the drawer and an old kitchen knife that was my grandmother's from when my dad was little, and they used to butcher their own cows. One of those knives, you know, of course, the sheath was a homemade newspaper one that they folded up and put masking tape on. Well, that's been in the drawer for, I don't know, probably about three or 4 years that I've had it easily. And I haven't forgot about it. I just have other ones. And it's in that newspaper sheath. While I was digging in that drawer today, and it had poked through the end of the newspaper and sliced me up pretty good. So I guess it was a sign saying, hey, yeah, go ahead, get your tetanus shot. But the other one that kind of concerned me, and I've never gotten one, I don't think.
No, I don't know of you having one.
And it's the ammonia shot.
Pneumonia.
That's what I said.
It didn't sound like pneumonia.
Ammonia.
Say it again.
Ammonia.
You're saying ammonia.
Yeah.
Pneumonia.
Ammonia.
Pneumonia. If somebody says, I have pneumonia, they don't say I have ammonia. Ammonia is a cleaning supply. Pneumonia is the disease, the illness.
Well, anyway, they gave me the preventative shot that's equivalent to the flu shot. Because my doctor and I have gone round and round and round about the flu shot. Mm-hmm. And back in like 97, I think it was 97, might have been 98.
The last one you got when you got sick?
Yeah.
It was in 2000. That wasn't the time that I got the flu shot, because I hadn't got the flu shot since then. This was before then. Mm-hmm. But I was seriously laid out for 2 weeks. Like, it gave me a mega flu. And I was laid out for 2 weeks. I was out of work. I was 103, 102, 104 fever. I mean, I was a train wreck for 2 solid weeks right after that flu shot. And I told myself, you ain't getting it. And of course, you know, all the preventative stuff that I'm supposed to be doing, because now you're getting older, you're not a spring chicken. Yeah, that hurts, doesn't it?
No, what hurts is when I get up in the morning and I hear the
every day.
Yeah. But it doesn't hurt as bad as when I'm like doing something and I'm bending over and then I go to stand up and my back doesn't want to move yet. Like, it's still in the hunch position and it doesn't want to move up, and you got to go up like really slow. It's almost like the little ticks on the roller coasters that's going uphill. It's like tick, 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 tick. That's the way my back feels. It's like tick, 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 until I get to the upright position. But yeah, anyway. So, but you had to go into the office today, and
I did.
So I was up at like 4:30 this morning with you. Well, I was up before you, and then you got up, and then I couldn't go back to sleep.
I woke up initially at 2:30, and then I kind of tossed and turned from 2:30 to 4:30.
So I got up about 4:30, a little before, and went to the bathroom, and then your alarm went off. So I was like, all right, you're up, and I couldn't go back to sleep because I knew you were leaving. So it's like, if I know somebody's coming home, it's hard to go to sleep. But if I know you're getting ready to leave, then it's hard to go back to sleep.
until after you're gone. Well, I came down, I made coffee, and we chatted before you left, and then I was watching, catching up on some stuff, and on the old YouTubeage, and some comments and stuff, and editing videos for this coming week, and well, I get this. I went and did my errands with my buddy and the pharmacy, and then I had just about out on. I'm sitting on the recliner, and I'm kicked back, and I'm just about out. Doorbell rings. Now, doorbell, it's like just a bzzz, because the doorbell busted like, I don't know.
Busted years ago.
Yeah, it probably worked for 2 years after we moved in, and it hasn't worked for like 8.
Yeah.
And I don't care. Nobody uses it, and I don't need to hear it anyway. And it's just a loud enough bzzz to where you hear it.
It's not really people
who would know us.
Who know us.
Yeah.
Because we prefer knocking on a door.
And then the dogs get ripping and carrying on, so it's okay. Anyway, so our neighbor, she said, "Can you run me down to Food Line, a little grocery store down the street?" And I'm like, "Yep, that's within my driving distance. Yep, we can do that." Which I had to go anyway. So, we went, and so I got to take a grocery shopping today. So that was fun. That was fun. We had a good time.
Good.
I got a feeling we'll see a lot more of her going forward, because we made that good connection, the good friendship connection. So
yeah.
But so blessed to see that. She asked last week we went to she come over and wanted to go to the laundromat because her dryer was out, and so I took her down the street to the wash house, and she's like, "Well, I'll call you when I'm done." I said, "Ma'am, I'll just sit right here with you." So I sat there while she, because it don't take that long to dry a load of clothes.
No, but the time you got back, you would have just been like your
turn
10
around,
minutes and turn around and go back.
So I sat down with her, and we just chatted, and had a good time. She asked if I minded if we went and looked around for a dryer at somebody's little thrift shops, and we ended up locating her one through a guy that was working at one of the shops, got it for free. Because what they had in the shop was $600. And she's like, "Oh, Lordy, no." I said, "Okay, well, we keep going and we'll find something." And this guy said, "Hold on, man, let me call my daughter. They just got new units. They got their washer went out, so they got new units. So let me call her." Then through some messages later on, she come back by about, I don't know, it was after dinner, or right at dinner. And, "You run me down and get that?" "Yeah, absolutely." So we went down and got her a new to her dryer.
Right.
So those are some of the little blessings that I wouldn't have experienced if not been in this situation that I'm currently in.
Right.
So that's there's something good in every day, and that lady probably hasn't smiled and laughed like that in a while. She was a rolling, and it was good for her because she could, she was telling me all the tea is what the kids call it. So and it's good to vent and good to have good conversation, So
right.
So yeah, that was some of the blessings that you don't expect. Just good conversation with somebody. And I lost what I was thinking.
I don't know. I don't know what you were thinking.
I don't know.
So anyway.
Yeah, that's part of that brain fog and part of the cognitive stuff that happens. And I mean, it's like my brain just pulls an e-brake and
stops.
And we slam we start doing wheelies and slam into the wall, and it's like, oh, it happens. But we also had another
interesting incident. Not really incident, but the tank on the toilet cracked.
Yeah.
So
Not our toilet, the kids' toilet.
Yeah, so the upstairs bathroom that the 3 bedrooms share, the tank on, not the bowl, but the actual tank where the flusher is, got a crack in it. Cub come up and she says, can you look at the commode? She says, it's dripping water where the nuts are. And I was like, well, huh? So I go and look.
See, if you ask them, they say that you over-tightened something and broke it.
I think it was cracked prior because the where the tank sits down and then you tighten up those 2 nuts that holds it on.
Yeah.
And they were both dripping. So I tightened one up and it quit dripping. And it would only drip when you flushed. So I tightened them both up and then flushed. One was still dripping, so I tightened up a little more. Did it again, and then the other side started dripping. And I think it was already cracked.
Yeah.
It just, because you could tighten it, and once your finger tight, it should have been good. A little over finger tight. But I could spin the wrench around a couple times, and it didn't. But then the crack shot up and around from the bottom all the way up and then across. So, anyway.
So, yeah, we went shopping.
Yep.
Got a new toilet.
That was more of an adventure than what I originally thought it would be. You don't realize how many different styles. And then if you want the sprinkler system added on, then you've
we
got...
do the sprinkler system.
No, Cub asked, she said, what is this? And she was trying to say, I can't even say the word.
Bidet.
She's like, what is this? And I was like, I'm trying to think. She said, where the water goes. And I said, oh, you want a sprinkler on there? And she's like, do what? So I said, well, yeah, it just shoots water up your spots. And then you got to drip dry. And she was like, well, that doesn't sound fun.
Yeah.
I was like, no, because it's not like they have the hand wash where you wash your hands and you go over and you put your hands under the hot dryer.
No, there's no like
so they
hair
don't
dryer that can spray your tail clean.
Yeah, so they don't have the automatic hot air dry underneath one of those things with the sprinkler. So you got to walk around with wet cheeks.
Or you take tissue paper and then...
Well, then, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I guess that's why we're not living overseas.
Or bidet people.
I don't get it, but it's okay. So we opted not to get that one.
No. And, it was a hard decision. Like, if you're going to spend money, get something you like. Get, like, a profile you like. Get, like, the height you like. Get, like there was one cheaper, but all I could think of was it looked like an alien. Like, the basin, or, like, the bowl part, the way it curved up, and it looked like an alien mouth, or, like...
I don't know. We're sitting in Lowe's and we're
Rocky
just...
Horror Picture Show, that flower.
Oh...
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of. It was like an alien or like that. And I'm like, I don't want to go into this bathroom and think of that every time.
Fortunately, it's not the one we use, so...
No, but I mean, I use it occasionally. But every time I looked at it, that's all I think, and I hate it.
But I think it was about a year ago that I had to replace the inside of that one. Anyway, this I don't know, what's this got to do with cancer? It's just a little trials and the things that you run into in your everyday life that, you would be kind of like, you might be upset and think the world's coming down on you, and it's just, that this is one of those, it's just one of those bad things that happen. It happens.
It happens. It's not even a bad thing. It's just a
but
thing.
But the way we dealt with it, I think, is different than the way we would have or could have dealt with it. The initial, trying to throw your channel locks through the wall, cussing and arguing and fighting, and then
There's nothing to do any of that too. It was an
Right.
easy thing. We knew what we had to do.
right.
We just did it.
So I think maybe that's
Maybe it's changed how we deal with things. Like we're like, okay, well this is inconvenient, but it's not the end of the world.
right.
This is inconvenient, but it's not going to really set me back more than a few hours. Set me back a little money. Well, good gosh.
Well, and yeah, so
Everything sets us back a little money, so
Yep.
that's not a big deal. I've come to just acknowledge that
Yep.
that's going to be what happens.
Yep. And our extracurricular spending is like cut way out. So
Yeah,
this we would be like, yeah, we're not going out to eat for a couple weeks, 3 weeks.
that's all right.
We're not planning on doing that because we got Pay getting ready to move back to school.
Yeah, I mean we're busy. We're busy
So-
for the next 2 months on the weekends now.
But I think that changed how we look at the little unexpected life events, inconveniences. Because if I was at home and I was working night shift, I wouldn't have took her down to the. I've been like, I'm not even answering the door.
No. Well, and when you say inconvenience, I mean I remember.
I mean that's not an inconvenience, but it's a
Not
different.
her, like
Yeah, but that's like one of those different.
the toilet. That was an inconvenience.
Yeah.
And I know that at one point I was trying to get your insurance handled, and I was a mess, and I was crying.
Yeah.
And it was because they were like, okay, well they're gonna drop his, so you gotta find some new, and trying to find someone who would cover you, and nobody would cover you, and just all this stuff. And I don't know who the guy was who tried to help me. I've never seen him. I've only talked to him like twice, maybe 3 times. But all I can think is, in my head, based on his voice, he's a skinny, scrawny, really new to his job
Yeah.
kind of guy.
And you're like his 5th call, or there's so many in the first week.
Well, and he just had that voice of he was a young person, and maybe he hasn't had a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
And he picked the wrong day to say this to me when I'm, trying to figure it out, and I don't know how we're going to pay for anything because our insurance got demolished. And
that was a rough time.
And he said, ma'am, first of all, ma'am.
Ooh.
I know this is inconvenient. I said, excuse me, sir. There is nothing convenient about anything I'm doing right now. There is nothing convenient. There's no time this will ever be convenient for anybody. This is never a convenient conversation. Well, I know it's unpleasant. Unpleasant is also not the word, sir. There is nothing enjoyable. There's nothing enjoyable about making this phone call. And I'm crying, and he's like, ma'am, I understand you're emotional.
No, you don't.
You need to hang up the phone.
Yeah.
And have your mommy or your daddy call me back. It just was patronizing in a way, and I think he meant to be comforting.
He was trying to be comforting and that's. I think
but he
that's.
didn't, and I
think
just
that's
remember
where-
going, there is nothing convenient
That's
about this call.
That's kind of where I think I want to go with today's topic. Of course, I thought diligently and planned really hard in the last 45 seconds, and I think this is where we're going to go. Is we haven't really talked about where the way we've dealt with this melanoma, the treatments, the emotional kick in the nuts, or ass beating that we took.
But in that, we actually had individuals that were trying to make their life experiences worse or as equal to this.
Yeah.
Without, like, so they're talking to us. And I don't know if it makes sense to y'all, but you know,
they talked to us about how unfortunate their situation is. And not that we wanted someone to say,
right,
you guys are in a really bad place. But to look at us and be like, hey, I know you're battling cancer and you just had brain cancer and you don't know, like, how long your funds are going to last, and you don't know if you can keep your house, and you don't know how you're going to send your kid to college. But dang, I stubbed my toe and it really hurt, and now my toenail is blue. Can you believe that? And you're like, seriously?
Like,
shut up.
And maybe that's just the way we were raised. I mean, you know, we were raised similar but different.
Yeah.
I keep a lot of things to myself, and I don't, because I feel like a lot of times people ask how you're doing. Mm-hmm. They don't really care. They care enough to hear, oh, I'm doing good. Oh, all right. So when they talk to somebody else and somebody says, well, hey, did you talk to them? Oh, yeah, they said they were doing good. But if I actually said, well, you know, man, I got to watch my white starches because of the inflammation in my joints, and then I get to hurting really bad, and then this, and they're like, oh, yeah, well,
that was great. I'm going to go grab some pizza. You want to come?
Or they're like, yeah, you know, the sprayer just cut off on the lettuce. I'm going to get that before the water comes back on. Mm-hmm. Like, it's one of those is how do you deal with that?
Yeah.
Because it's frustrating. It's frustrating being the patient, and you know my filter is gone now, and I will tell somebody to go kick rocks in a heartbeat and not think twice about it.
I know, and sometimes I'm like, I need you to shut up for 5 seconds.
And
because you're going to say something mean. I can see it.
Yep.
I can feel it.
And there's times where, you know, there's somebody that's telling me their situation, and, you know, I'm in, like, zoned out and completely, like and they're going, well, this, you know, and it's not like they're just sharing their experience, but they're trying to make me feel like that they're building it up to make that story and that experience worse than.
Like right now, they're thinking about this, but thinking about this. If you haven't experienced a major life crisis, and it doesn't have to be cancer, it could be anything. It could be bankruptcy. It could be you lost your job, now you're homeless. It can be any medical issue. If you haven't experienced great adversity, you don't know how to talk to somebody
who is,
because nobody wanted to be like, how are you? And to really think like this is big. But they would ask me, almost like if I said, how are you? It's going to make you remember you had cancer, because of course you could have forgot.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to bring up an unpleasant conversation.
Which I've gotten that was another one that I don't want to say chat my ass, but made me go, what the? Because they were like, well, I was going to call you, but I know you're going to be, you know, concentrating on healing.
Right.
A conversation with a friend is healing.
Yeah.
And if you want to know, call me.
But, you know, a lot of people, it makes them very uncomfortable. And I think you got to experience, like, my family doesn't give two craps about making you uncomfortable. You know, like,
right.
They'll say, how are you? Because you kind of look like shit today. Are you feeling okay? And they don't feel bad because we've always been really open with issues.
Yeah.
Because it was just, my parents were only children. So if a grandpa or a grandma was sick, you were the ones that were taking care of them.
Right.
Like, we were the ones taking them to the doctors, and we were the ones in the hospitals with them, and we're the ones rehabbing them, and because that's all there were.
And I think that's...
And maybe that's one of the differences, that if we didn't take care of them, who was gonna? There was no one else.
Well, and I kind of look, like our kids, our oldest two, they didn't know how to deal with it, and they were just like, let me get out of here, and they were gone as much as they could. Which the one was starting her life outside of, and the other one's getting ready his senior year, going to college.
It wasn't the senior
working.
year she had planned.
No. No,
who
but
wants this their senior year? You don't want it ever.
So to be drugged down with that, so it was harder for her, and she's been home this summer. She's been working as much as she can, and she's been staying with friends as much as she can to not be in the house.
Well,
because it's still present.
Yeah, it's still present, and
it's still not easy.
And it's that little bit of going from
the independence
into.
But
I am that pushy parent who's like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that? What's that for?" Where
she's at mentally and
emotionally,
and at the time in her life right now, all of this plays together. And you got a kid who's been on her own. She's trying to figure it out, and then she comes home, and that's always
it's always interesting.
But then you throw in the fact or the emotional of the house.
You have the reminder. Dad stays home all day now.
Yep, and
Mom's working more.
Yeah, and yes, he's not the same person he was.
Right.
And all this stuff happened, and so the way to say, this is how I'm dealing with it is, can I come over? I need to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't fault her for that at all.
No.
But then it's, if I'm having a bad day, which aren't as frequent, but I do have bad days. And, when I'm having those days, it's that reminder, and then it's like, gone.
Yeah. Got
to get out of here. Where unfortunately Cub couldn't.
Right.
She didn't. We only had the one car, and she couldn't drive it because she didn't have her license, and she was stuck here all the time. So she got to live all of it.
I don't think she's upset about it.
I don't. She's more like me in that way. That bring on the challenges. Bring it on. Let me see it. I want raw life. I don't want make believe. I don't want the image that people post on Facebook. I want nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
I want to see how things work to understand why you're posting only the good stuff, the make believe stuff.
Yeah.
And that's me. When my grandparents were, when they passed, or they needed moved out of the assisted living, I was the one that was there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you and I moved them with
my
your
dad. Yep.
I remember moving them in. I remember moving them out.
Yep.
So
we've cleaned out a few assisted living homes and
homes, apartments, rooms. I wouldn't give any of it up.
No.
It's
no, and and I think I think about this a bit because the girls are at that age, the same age I was when, my grandpa's and grandma on my dad's side was getting sick, and I didn't spend much time with them. I mean, and when they were trying to get that little bit of time, I was like, I'm out of here. I got to go. I got things to do. I had a cooler of beer in the trunk, and I had to go. And it's like...
And I was on the other side that, probably, I don't know, 6 months before my grandpa passed. I mean, I was a senior in high school. He passed the summer after I graduated. But it seemed like every time I went to sleep and I like took my shoes off, every time I got all comfy in my bed, I get the knock on my bedroom door, hey, come on, we gotta get Grandpa to the hospital.
Yeah.
So I started sleeping in my shoes, and it became my thing. Because if I slept in my shoes, we didn't take him to the hospital that night. And I know it doesn't, my shoes had nothing to do with it.
Maybe they did.
Maybe they did.
Were they ruby red?
They were not.
Oh.
But it just became the thing because that was one of my responsibilities at that age. So I spent a lot of time with my grandparents and a lot of time with, you know, like my mom's foster brother who will forever be my uncle. A lot of time in his house. A lot of time with my grandparents. It just helping to watch them, to take care of them. We didn't want them to be alone, so we go sit with them, and I'm thankful that I had so much time, you know. And I think for Sydney, she is so lucky, and I don't think she realizes how lucky she is that in her life.
No, she's,
you know, like the only grandparent she didn't meet was my grandpa.
Yeah.
You know, and because she was in her teens when my grandma's passed.
Yep. She
was, you know, middle school or elementary school when, you know, my grandfather passed, when your grandparents passed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so her great-grandparents passed when she was in elementary school. She has a great-grandmother still alive. She had a great-great-grandmother. And there are so many people who are like, I don't have grandparents.
Yeah, who don't get that. Yeah.
You know, and they don't get that little bit of life. A little bit of life lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how, you know, kind of getting back to the...
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Kind of getting back to the topic. How do you deal with... Because you know, there's times I just tune them out. But how do you deal with it when they're like, you know, somebody's like, hey, like you haven't seen in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, hey, how you doing? And you're like, well, you know, we've been doing this and that and the cancer and this and that. And they're like, what? And then you start telling them and they're like, wow. Well, my dog's got diarrhea. And then they go into the laundry list of that. Like, that tops
you know what, though? Here's the thing.
Because everybody's situation's worse than yours.
But no, I don't think, honey, that it's worse. I think it's... everybody's scale is different. Everybody's scale is different.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's perception is different. So, for us, for me, I mean, because for a while you weren't able to comprehend it all.
Oh yeah, I was a space cadet. I was in outer space without a helmet.
I lived and breathed your cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't anyone here to take that off of me, so I lived and breathed your cancer.
Right.
And honestly, if somebody was here, I probably wouldn't have let them, because I was so... I feel like I'm pretty in tune with you. Like...
You pick up on a lot of the...
I pick up on your subtle things.
Yeah, the subtleties and...
With how your eyes look, how you hold your head, how you hold your shoulders, how you sit, what you drink, how you do it, what you watch, colors you wear. And different things mean different things to you. So I could pick up on some of those anxieties or some of those nerves or how you were feeling without you telling me, because you got really irritated when I was like, how do you feel? Like, you don't look like you feel good today. And you're like, great, thanks a lot. And it wasn't me reminding you, it was me saying, do I need to do anything?
Yeah.
And because you don't like when I tell you how I think you're feeling without you telling me how you're feeling, because you just read into this.
Well, I think the question out there, what I'm looking for was more like you have a couple friends that know, and when they ask, you know it's genuine.
Yes.
But you also have friends or acquaintances that
when they ask, they really just want a peek at the inside.
They're just asking to be cordial.
Well, what I was going to say was, for us, we lived and breathed cancer. But for somebody whose dog has, I don't know.
And we're just using that as an example because it's just random.
I just have a dog. We have dogs.
Yeah, it's just random, and it's just using that as an example. That really didn't happen.
No. For a dog who had like a skin condition, and they were this was their pride and joy, and they're going to the doctor and the vet every 2 days, and they're spending hundreds of dollars at like the pharmacy. For them, that's as big as this is for you and for us.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know what I mean? So.
Okay. So then, how do you go about that then when their situation trumps when they ask you,
yeah.
And then they go right in
minuscule to
like
me,
they kind of
situation.
They brush it off, and then they go into how their situation trumps everything.
Honestly, if it's all about their situation, I just listen. I say nothing. All right, well, I'm going to have to go. Because you know what? If you're so roped up only into your own situation, then you're not willing to listen to the other situation.
Yes.
It's not going to matter. I mean, I could be like, well, this is what's all happened. And if they're still, my dog's skin condition is really bad, I don't think you understand, then you know what? It's not worth my breath. It's not worth my breath. And I tried not to complain. And the people I did complain to, they were the ones they're my diaries. They're my
your support group.
They're my support. They're the ones that I can
still call and say,
yell and cuss and fuss, and
they're the
next
ones.
day I can call and be like, "Hey, you want to go grab a drink?" Then
Yep. They're the ones that'll. Hey, how are you doing? Are you taking care of yourself?
Are you doing what you need for you?
So, what about? Because maybe I read into this more than I should, which is all prior history with mental problems and depression and all that. But I read into some things, situations worse than what they really are. So say you know I was at the job for down here. We moved down here in 2007.
Yeah. And
because of cancer, last December they terminated.
Right.
And it's fine. I'm at peace with that. And the concerning part is, of all the people that I worked with every day, 5-6 days a week, 40 to 60 hours a week, through all kinds of stuff, birth of their kids, the deaths of their in-laws or whatever, celebrated with these people at work, and I only get like a couple that have reached out, and only and of the couple, there's one I know is genuine, and the others and they're like, hey, we're praying for you and all that, and that's great, that's fine. They are working, and I know out of sight, out of mind is a complete thing, but it doesn't help when it's just kind of like
dude, we've been on the, we spent all this time together, and because I'm sick, I'm not dead.
No, but you know,
I've got one foot in the grave, and now I'm hovering the rim, but
you're walking around it.
I'm walking around looking for, with the shovel.
You know what? You're right. Out of sight, out of mind. And then it's the same as if you don't see your friend for a while. You know, like we've ran into this with friends that we spent a lot of time with when the kids were little.
Yeah.
And then life happens and you stop talking a minute. And then you're like, well, gosh, would it be weird now if I called him? Because I haven't called him for probably 2 years, but I thought of this thing today, and I thought they would think it was funny, and maybe I should call them. And so it's that logic. And
we did reconnect with the couple.
But it's the idea, honey, that your work friends, they're your work friends, and they're the people you talk to at work. But then, oh gosh, I haven't talked to him for a couple months, or somebody said he was doing good, or somebody said the surgery is going good. I'm going to have to call him, and then life gets in the way.
Yep, and I get that, and
then they're like, oh gosh, now I'm going to seem like a jackass. It's been 9 months since I said anything, so now I can't call them, because there's fear on their side too.
Yeah.
And what if I call and say, hey, how's everything going? And you're like,
where the hell you been?
Or you're like, I'm sorry, like I can't talk to you. I have 6 months left to live. So there's also that fear. So it's a double-edged sword. It doesn't mean it's right. But I think in all of this, I've learned who I can talk to, who values what I think about this, who values my heart in this, who supports me in this, secondary to supporting you.
Because I know, like, when we going to the church group, there are certain individuals at the group that we've talked aside, and they would, hey, in front of the group, they'd be like, hey, how's everything going? Yeah, okay, whatever. And then they would ask more questions, inquisitive.
Yeah.
There's certain questions you get that is more than how are you feeling.
Yeah.
Because if I said it the last week that my joints were hurting, they would say, how's the joints this week?
Yeah, they remember parts.
So when they remember parts of the conversation and they ask you specifically about that, then it's like they care. They seem to care more, if that makes sense.
Hold on, like.
Whoa!
Ooh, it's for you guys to share.
Thanks.
Thank you, Cubbo.
Hey, Cubbo. I don't know how it works, but
the pump, I saw that.
You and your sister have to get a new pump. You need a pump for each of your tanks that don't have the pump. And I put chemicals in your tank.
And the big one or the small?
The big one.
Okay.
Because they told me to. So you might want to put a couple drops in the little one, but wait till we're done.
Okay.
What they're talking about is,
sorry,
Cub's best friend he got his acceptance to his dream school.
Yes.
Which is the Merchant
Marine Academy. He's in a prep school right now in Alabama.
Yep. So
he'll be there for a year.
He left Friday.
He left Friday.
So she's having some social, emotional depression, and so she's.
This is her best friend.
I know. I'm okay. I'm not trying to poke fun. So this is her.
If she's on the phone ever, she's on the phone with this guy.
Yep, and it's fine. This is her best friend.
Yeah.
And she came home yesterday with a 40-gallon fish tank and 5 fish. She fills it up with tap water.
And she killed 5 fish.
And instead of letting the fish acclimate to the water, she just dumps them in.
Yeah.
So the temperature change threw them into shock. So
and then
one
it
went
tap water. And
one went
put some chemical in it. And
one went immediately. So she took it back, got another one, came in.
laid the bag in the water for, I don't know, about 10 minutes, and then she's dumped it in there, and it died. By morning, all of them are dead.
Yeah, she has
Floating.
one. The one in the little tank. So it's so odd. The big tanks, all the fish are dead. The little tanks, the 2 little tanks,
They
they're
must
both
be different.
alive.
They must be different ones. Like betas don't need all the.
They're not. One's a goldfish and one's a
Yeah.
whitefish. But regardless,
So
that's why I'm like, we got to get another pump and
if you think
aerator.
about your tap water, it goes through a cleaning process, and I know this because I used to do it at my job, water treatment, and you get all the stuff out of it. Well, some of that stuff the fish need, so we had to get the stuff to put back into the water before she can actually have fish live in it. So that's what that was all about.
yeah. So sorry.
Side note, but life happens.
Life happens. But
Yeah.
no,
It's one of those questions, though,
I guess I've learned.
of life and death.
But in this, you learn where your priorities are. You learn a little bit about the kind of person you want to be. You learn if your expectations are real, or if they're lofty. Like people who, and not saying that our situation should be on the forefront of everybody's mind. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna call me your friend, I'm your friend, and you aren't ready to hear the real,
Right.
and you're like more in the, you never want to do anything anymore. You never want to come over anymore. You never want to have dinner anymore. You never want to go out anymore. And not that I did those things, but we had periods that we would go to, like Aaron's house, and spend weekends with their family, like, or
we would have family
travel,
dinners.
or we would do these things, and some of that got put on hold. And the ones that were like, I'm not even going to ask you because you're not going to do it. It made me think, well, then you're not grasping the severity of
the
our
gravity
situation.
of this, yeah.
Where, like Erin, and we've talked about her before, she would say, hey, I know you don't like to leave them a lot, but how about, I miss you, I want to come see you. I'm going to just bring over a bottle of wine. You don't have to go anywhere.
Yep.
Don't get dressed up. Stay in your pajamas. Let's just sit here and talk.
And she's one that will come over and hang out, and they have their own, family stuff going on.
Their family isn't easy either.
Nope, they've got their own trials and or not trials, but I guess trials. Their own stuff going on with their house. But when she comes over, it's not hers trumps ours.
No.
It's, oh shit, okay, well let's talk this out.
Let's share this through.
And then I've got something to share with you.
And
so you talk both. Like, life and death first, and then let's talk about drama.
Right. Or let's talk drama. How's everything with you? Things are good with me right now. Good. You take the front seat on this one.
Yeah. It's kind of like, when the circus comes to town, which goes first.
Right.
And
one of the cool things, and I've told you about this, like when I started feeling comfortable to leave you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go out all day today. And it's still not a big thing that I do often. I still don't go out all day and leave you. I mean, now I'm starting now, and we're 2 years into this.
Well, and because I'm in a better place now than what I have in 2 years.
But I've just started doing that more in the last few months.
Because we are, tomorrow is August 1st.
Yeah.
So we are 2 years, and
we're into this 2-year mark.
Yep, we passed 2 years, and we're getting up to 2 years since brain surgery.
Yeah, it's coming.
And that is still, I don't believe it. Did it happen? Like I don't believe it happened.
What I was going to tell you was, Like when we went kayaking the first time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we should do this more, and we really are planning more. It's just life's got busy.
Yeah.
But she was like, now I know he's not going to want to be in the sun, but look, right there it's really shaded, or right there it's shaded, or we should find somewhere with shade. We should get him, like, make him carry an umbrella, or we need to find him a canopy, like a travel canopy.
And I think that's like the different degree of friendship.
And they're planning, how can we keep him safe and still do all the things we want to do, because we don't want to exclude him.
Right.
Because it's an outside activity, but we got to keep him safe doing it. And you saw that being in the water, like her and her husband were both like, get his feet in the water.
Yeah.
Put on more sunscreen.
Yeah.
Pull the sleeve down. You know, and yeah, they're like that. And then you have other friends that is their concern, is how are you?
Yeah.
Not the pretty you. How are you? Be ugly, be real, and be realistic. But those emotions are all saved.
Yeah.
For my core group. Like my sister got them when you were in immunotherapy, and I would text and be like, I hate this.
Yeah.
I freaking hate this. And she's like, I know, and I hate that you're by yourself. So she texted me the whole time because she knew I didn't want to talk. But she texted me through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And like she became our point person. Like when you were having brain surgery, I'm like, call my sister, call my sister, call my sister. Teresa, I need you to update. I'm only updating you, but I need you to update this.
Yep.
Can you call this person because they're asking me and I don't have it. You know, I can't talk anymore.
Then I noticed, and maybe it's just, I don't know, but I noticed some that were very supportive at the beginning and very checking in often, and then out of sight, out of mind.
But
and I know life, life happens.
Gets in the way.
And
you know what though?
I don't want to be petty, and I feel like that's me being petty.
No, here's the thing. You want support, and you want to know that you're loved even in the good times and not only the bad times. You want to know that you're appreciated in the mundane times and not just the exciting times.
Yeah.
And you know, I think in some ways, as much as I was always like, thank you so much for the card, or thank you so much for the dinner, there was also this kind of private part of me that was like, leave me the fuck alone. Like maybe it was because I did a lot of it on my own, kind of yelling, you know, talking to my friends about it, and they were super great. But I was dealing with all of the people and all the cards and all the thank yous and all the graciousness, and I'm so thankful for it.
And what else?
There came a point that I'm like, I need no one to talk about cancer today.
Yeah, and the other thing is we couldn't have people over.
No.
Because the world had shut down and all that mess. So that was another obstacle to get through. So if, so out of sight, out of mind, I'm not trying to be like petty and be like, woe is me. But as a patient, as somebody going through this, it's almost like, oh, hey, you had that cancer thing, right? How's that going? I mean, you look good. Somebody, when you going back to digging ditches and stuff, like what's up?
Somebody at my new job, we had to go in for training one day, and they were like, so what does your husband do? And I was like, well, nothing. I said, actually, he's been sick. So he can't work right now. And they said, well, is he ever going to be able to work again? I said, no, I don't think so. And they said, well, how is he? And I don't know this person, so I'm not going to lay on my, well, let me tell you how he is. I was like, he's doing all right. They're like, is he still sick? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is he going to be better? I'm like, nah, not so much.
Yeah.
And that's the hard one is, well, is he better? Well, right now he is. And in this whole out of sight, out of mind, I feel like that's where cancer has put us right now.
Yes, because now we're 2 years past.
We're 2 years past the hardest parts.
And it's not like I have the scars on my arm where they had to do the surgery and cut stuff out. Like, I don't have the visible scars. I got one in the back of my head.
But you can't see it. You just
can't
see a
it
stripe.
because, and it's just a little stripe. Mm-hmm. And I've got hair that grew back, so.
Yeah, it's just gray.
And they're always like, well, you look good. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm out. And I'm going to be standing in the middle of the grocery store, and where's Waldo?
I think out of sight, out of mind is what this cancer is putting us through right now. Because, and I've always said this to you, if it's easy, it isn't our way.
Yeah.
And so to think that we're only going to fight this thing one time, I know. But I have to prepare we're fighting it more than once so that I'm not thrown off.
I guess I wanted to bring these scenarios up because, I mean, of the few listeners that we have, there's somebody that's probably getting ready to go through this, or they've already doing it, and they're and it's not to harbor the hard feelings.
No, life is way too short to harbor ill feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not worth it to me.
Count your blessings every day. Every morning when I get out of bed, I thank the Lord for that opportunity.
Now there are things I resent, and I'll always resent, but I try not to hold them super, up front.
Yep.
But, I think...
The battles are messy.
I think
the wars are messy.
Yes. I think the thing that kind of was that, you were talking about was he's doing such a good job fighting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he hadn't done nothing yet.
And that was...
and I think because we knew the battle you had. We knew that we had to get the brain surgery. We knew then you were going to start the medicine. We knew then you were going to start another medicine. We knew we were going to go through this anxiety every 3 months. Oh, we know we're still in that anxiety, and it can come back at any time. And I'm always watching for signs, and I'm always looking at you, and I'm looking at your skin, and that's never dying. That's not going away.
That comment where you're like, oh, he's fighting so hard. They don't know. They don't know the struggle. They only see that I'm still kicking.
Keep up the good fight.
Yeah.
And I know it's the same thing that you say when somebody passes and you're like, they wouldn't want you to be sad.
Yeah, it's a scripted cheerleader thing. And then you're thinking whenever that person that told you that, whoever passed away, really didn't like them.
I'm just like... But I know you have nothing else to say.
Yes.
And you want to say something, and you don't want to say it wrong, and you don't want it to be offensive. And for me, that thing, just saying that, he's fighting.
That can make it worse.
I'm just like, I'm going to fight you.
It's one of those because a saying like that, it's scripted cheerleading, right? It's the same as the high school basketball team. They all say the same cheer. The same football teams, they all sing the same cheers, right? So you have this scripted cheerleading that goes on with tragedies.
Right.
And that was one thing that
was kind of a hard one for me to just...
And I had somebody that I really like this guy, and I respect him a lot, and he was like, man, you're kicking cancer's ass, and you're doing this, and like all gung-ho and empowered. We didn't talk for 6 months before diagnosed. Like, I got diagnosed, you found out because we were, and then it's been like 4 or 5 months, and so it was that I'm watching from this on the sideline and up in the nosebleed section, but you're cheerleading like you're on the sideline. So
but on the other side, weird. There are times I'm like, don't say it.
Yeah.
Just, you know what? Let's not even talk about it. We're not going to do a check-in. I don't want to do a check-in.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your favorite color. Let's talk about something that pissed you off yesterday. Let's talk about something you saw great today. But we're not going to talk about cancer.
But fortunately,
because we see it all the time.
Fortunately for us, we can say, "Hey, you want an update? Tune in on Monday."
Yeah, now you have something else. I mean,
you want an update?
Yeah.
Well, here's a YouTube. Here's my card for YouTube, and here's
please,
one for the podcast.
Anyone listening, please understand that it's not us being ugly. It's not us being. We're not trying to be petty. We're not trying to be rude. We're not trying to be anything. Just when you're doing this,
there are feelings and situations, and
you don't even know how to feel about them.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted.
And I'm emotional, so my emotions hang right there.
And I pull mine in, and I always turn it inward. So where certain topics I brought up,
yeah,
I'm blessed, absolutely blessed that the people that I work with check in. Do certain ones check in that I was really close with? I mean, we were all work friends, and we didn't hang out outside of work, but a couple of them. But
my super close work friends all check in.
But
we're all medical. That's it. We're all medical related. So you're like a cool thing. You're a specimen to us.
And I know they all got lives, and things happen. And I know from experience where we had a coworker drop out, and or we lost track of them or whatever, and that happens. And I don't want it to be me being petty and being like spotlight on me, but for somebody new going through this or has gone through it and has held ill feelings, you're not alone. That's the thing. You're not alone. These things happen. Nobody talks about that stuff, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
I did find another podcast.
Yeah.
And we're already over an hour, so
we'll save it for next week.
I will write it down and save it for next week, because I'll give you a little spoiler. There's an app that will check 2 to 3 millimeters deep in your skin.
Mm-hmm.
Measure your moles.
That's cool.
So you can.
We're going to talk about that next week. Don't
Okay. So that'll be next week. I will send you the link to that podcast.
Yeah, please.
For anybody listening, it is Sailing Through Life podcast.
Okay.
And it is melanoma based. Like, she talks to the couple I've listened to. She talks to doctors and other people, whatnot. So it was really interesting listening to this. But Sailing Through Life podcast, I'll put a link in the show me more stuff.
Yeah, I think you and I've tried doing like you have your things you try to do, and I have things I try to do, like because of the position I'm in with my job.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I get lots of people who are just starting this journey.
Yes.
And I'm always like, hey, from one warrior to another, from one caregiver to another, you are doing a great job. And this lady, it was the end of last week, and I don't know, it reminded them of us in a sense. Mm-hmm. I don't know these people.
Mm-hmm.
But like the husband calls, he's the employee, then he goes, hey, it's so and so, here's my stuff, talk to my wife. And that was it. and the wife comes on and she's like, I need to know how to do X, Y, and Z, and this is why. And he just got diagnosed with cancer, and I'm like, okay. And I just said, from a caregiver to another caregiver, you're doing everything you can do. And she said, oh my gosh.
Yep.
And she just started to break down.
Yep.
And so I think, I've talked to you about desires to want to find a platform to help people who are going through this, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe that's the start of my platform. And just to make sure they all know you're doing the best you can.
Yep.
I'll step out of my role. That I don't care. And if anybody doesn't like it, well,
Yep.
you can always fire me. Shoot, I don't care. But for these people, I know what they're getting ready to go through. The type of cancer doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I know what they're getting ready to go through, and they need all the support, not all of this,
yeah.
the hardship.
You're about to have a Sharknado in a fishbowl.
You know, so
crazy.
So I'm using our experience there.
Yes.
In a very broad way.
And that's where we're doing
to
this.
Talk. Yeah.
Doing this. So for the listeners, I video it and I put it up on YouTube, and it's not cooking related, but
no.
This is who we are, where we're at, and it gets a couple views, and that's fine. I don't care as long as somebody finds one piece of information that makes them think differently or makes it okay, because bottom line, you did not cause your cancer.
No. And it's
you
okay.
did not cause it.
And it's okay if you don't know how to deal with it. And it's okay to be mad, and it's okay to be angry, and it's okay to be ugly. And you know what I'm mad about right now? I'm really, really, really pissed that I cannot watch this series. I've told you about this series. I don't know if you remember. I see clips on TikTok, and this woman has melanoma, and it might be, I don't know what it's called. If it's called cancer, I'm going to have to look it up again.
That might be why you can't find it, because you don't know what it's called.
But no, because I have looked it up, and you can't stream it anywhere for free. It's like $3.99 an episode, and it's like 8 seasons long.
Yeah,
I can't afford that. But I'm watching it, and this is what you talking about with the work in this series. The character is a teacher.
okay.
And she goes up to, I think, the principal, because I'm just piecing it together from the clips. She goes up to the principal, the assistant principal, some kind of administrator, and she said, and very, very blankly, and she deals with humor too, but she goes, I don't want to do this anymore. And the principal's like, yeah, okay. And she goes, no, I mean, like, here. I don't want to do this anymore. And the principal lady goes, okay. And she goes, so when can I tell my students goodbye? And she goes, we'll see if you can do that. And she's like, no, when can I tell them goodbye? Like, you let everybody else who's leaving have a party. Well, that was planned. That was thought out. You're not thought out. You weren't planned. And it was really kind of, we don't want to bring that sadness onto the kids. You know that? Yeah. We don't want to do that. And the scene ends, and I've seen the next scene, but you see her like run into this room, and she gets on the microphone, and she makes this statement to her students over the loudspeaker. She's locked herself in the door, but it's that same thing where they're like, oh, this isn't a pleasant thought, so we're going to back away from it.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it to you because I see us in so many of these scenes. It's ridiculous.
Well, the kids always said we should have a reality show, and that was before this.
That was before this, so maybe this is it. Like,
so this podcast is kind of...
This show just makes me laugh, so...
This podcast is us. I mean, we laugh, we joke, you cry.
I do. I cry a lot, but I always cry.
Yeah.
I cry, and I yell, and I scream, and I can be mad, and I can hold a grudge. I'm trying not to, but I can.
So, I think that was good topics.
Yeah.
Anybody who has a topic that you'd like us to discuss, hit me up in the email. It's down in the description. We're happy to give you our thoughts on it. I mean, we're not doctors.
No.
I don't even play one on TV. But we can give you our 2 cents.
Our insight, our experience, our knowledge.
Yep.
And if I don't know, please put me on the topic to hunt, because I like a good hunt sometimes.
Because I
like to learn.
I was asked, are you okay talking about this? And I'm like, dude, I'm an open book.
What do you want to know?
And it's shocking. It's shocking for me that you are.
Well, and because I feel, and I've said this numerous times on here, that everything went well as could be for a reason. And I think bringing this awareness, because I've lived a life. I should have died 25 years ago. And
yeah, and instead you're unremarkable.
Yes. And to have paid doctors, oncologists tell you, hey, you're unremarkable. Here's the pictures to show it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think that's because talking about depression and stuff like that, it's always been hard for me.
Right.
Talking about personal stuff's always been hard.
Talking about your feelings and your emotions has always been hard. I'm your
Yes.
wife.
Yes. Telling my dad I loved him was hard the first time, and as an adult.
And I'm like, I love you, I love you, I
Yeah.
love you, I love you.
So,
yeah,
I feel that this has given me that second chance to not right any wrongs, but just to let anybody know you're doing good, you're doing okay. And a lot of times I have to tell myself that. So when I share that with somebody else, it's me I'm thinking about, that I'm talking to while I'm looking at you.
right.
You know, you're doing the best you can. Have you ever done this before? No. So why do you have a guideline? No.
No, I wish that book exists, but it doesn't.
So there's no guideline to this. You just live, and that's what I'm hoping to pass on. So, you are awesome. You are awesome.
I am awesome. Hey, you're pretty awesome yourself.
I did not cause my cancer. I am not at fault. I am a warrior, just like anybody listening, and that's powerful.
Yeah.
That is that. Once you can say that and look yourself in the mirror, you can even look yourself in the mirror and close your eyes and tell yourself that to get started.
Yeah.
You know, but to be able to voice that thought is pretty strong. So I encourage everybody to do that. But before I start rambling more and more and more, and I forget to post that link to Sailing Through Life podcast.
Right.
We'll get out of here.
Yeah, we gotta get out of here.
So, everybody have a great week. And what's my quote?
Every day might not be good, but there's good in every day.
Yes! Yes, yes, yes. She remembers. All right, rock on, everybody. You all are awesome. And be kind.
Yeah.
Be kind.
Okay.
Be kind to yourself. Be kind to your caregiver.
Yes, be very kind to your caregiver.
Because she made like...
We're the ones that deal with your medicine.
Have a great week, everybody.